Hello, I'm Steve Main with Fitness for 5 and Fitness for 10. You can check us out online. I'm here with Dr. Nario of Biointegrative Health Center in Reno, Nevada. Biointegrative Health Center, you can check them out online and everything that they do. So welcome, Doctor.
Hi, Steve. Thank you for inviting me again.
So today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic, and I can't wait to hear what you say about it, but intermittent fasting. I know there's different ways to do it. People use all kinds of different combinations. I've talked to people that'll go as many as 3 days, but they always go 12 hours and use different combinations, maybe 24 hours. So it's interesting. So I want to hear, and we do have other interviews up online with other physicians about this topic. So you might want to compare and contrast these topics and the physicians that we've talked to about this. So what is it? What's intermittent fasting? What does it mean?
Well, Steve, intermittent fasting it's taking the nation by storm, and you would know this in the health industry. And intermittent fasting is putting your body in a fasted state. So let's define being fed first. So when you're eating, you're using glucose or carbs as energy, and you store fat as triglycerides. So that's how when the body is introduced to food, how it reacts. When you get fasted around 8 to 12 hours of not having a meal or post-meal, now these triglycerides, the fats that got stored, are now turned into energy, which is fatty acid and glycerol. And the liver is the one that produces what we call ketone bodies. And this is what we call the metabolic switch. From glucose, when our body was being fed by food, and now this killing all these or destroying and using triglycerides as energy, as in the form of ketones, which is a higher form of fuel, meaning it gives us more equivalent compared to just burning up glucose. And the good thing about ketones is you just don't look at ketones in relation to being produced, but it's producing other enzymes as well that actually has metabolic significance, such as, I mean, this might be Greek to everybody, like NAD. It increases the metabolism and also the cognitive benefits like sirtuins. These also are related to better regulation of fat, proteins, and carbohydrates, and even brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is an antidepressant, neuroprotector, and cognition and memory enhancer. That's why I just don't want to emphasize ketones in the concept of intermittent fasting, but ketones stimulates other enzymes to be produced so that you would get the health benefits of intermittent fasting in a bigger picture.
Okay, so can you name some other specific maybe benefits of intermittent fasting?
Yeah, so Steve, there are so many benefits, but the major ones that really stands out are number one, metabolism. Anybody who's undergoing intermittent fasting, the diabetes improves, meaning the insulin gets better. Glucose utilization is better and enhanced. Cholesterol issues, HDL goes up, LDL goes down, triglycerides also goes down. And systemic inflammation parameters goes down, like CRP, ESR. And oxidative stress also goes down when you have so many free radicals in the system. And you're in this field, weight loss. This is definitely something that's an equivalent of what the results of intermittent fasting would be. Another one would be the gut. So the gut actually, as you remember, we're only using fat or fatty acids as our energy source, and this is oxidized. So as this happens, it enhances intestinal stem cell formation, meaning repairing the gut. And by us also, meaning we're lowering down the bad microbes in the gut by using this oxidative chemistry that we're experiencing when we're intermittent fasting. And also, when we talk about the good microbiome, when you eat less carbohydrates, you also have more good gut bacteria. And these are the Bacteroides, the lactobacilli, and also in skin. People who does IF or intermittent fasting has better skin because stem cells, they regenerate faster, and also the repair and the DNA of the skin, and it restores rhythm, abundance in terms of the turnover of dead skin cells. And number one, the brain. The brain also improves in terms of IF, in relation to IF, with memory, executive function, even the control of anger, tension, and confusion. Though the anger, tension, and confusion is more proven for aging men than actually women. Unfortunately, sorry for the women out there, but these are just what the studies say.
So what's a minimum? 12 hours? Would that be considered a
Intermittent
fast or?
fasting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can go into that. So let me tell you what the different types of intermittent fasting methods are. So one is time restricted eating. So meaning you limit the eating window without regards to calories. So timing of window influences the compliance. And at the same time, the thing is you need to ramp your days up, hopefully, ideally, 7 days per week. And the thing here, so this is what I do. Basically, I'm almost like this by default because I'm working. My first meal would be around 8 for breakfast, and then I wouldn't be eating around what 6. So that's already time restricted eating. And you can see that it's very flexible. And the thing here is there are different ways. So you would hear 12, 12, 14, 10, 16, 8, 18, 6. So the first number is always the number of fasting. And the second number is the number of hours when you eat. So the one that is really most popular and the most research in terms of the benefits that I mentioned is 16, 8. 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating. So that's the one that I would suggest if people just want to try it out and see the benefits. That's where they're going to find it. Another technique would be alternate day fasting. So this is complete fasting every day. So the fast starts at after dinner of the previous day. So one day on, one day off, one day on. And then usually people go as far as 36 hours in terms of the fasting. The next one is modified alternating day fasting. It's almost similar to alternating day fast, but now with the attention to eating the number of calories. So, for example, you're in one day, you're eating 125% calories on fasting days, which is not typically fasting. You're going to be eating just 25 calories. So you're just lowering down your calorie intake. And this technique is pretty good for the ones who are sensitive in terms of their sugar fluctuations. And also for starters who still like, maybe I don't want to starve myself. Let me try it out a little bit. And this is one of the very extensive schedules, the 5-2 schedule, meaning it's a complete fasting or limited caloric intake 2 days per week, meaning so you're going to have 2 days of not eating at all. And then limited intake, typically around 1,000 kilocalories on the 5 remaining days. And this can vary in terms of timing between the fasting days. So 5-2, I mean, you're going to go off. That's really harsh if you really are just a starter.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that I understand this. You said 8 hours of eating. That doesn't mean you're eating for 8 hours. That means
No.
that's an 8-hour window that you can eat, right?
Yes, that is correct. You're not going to binge. You're not going to go crazy. It's just 8 hours that you have for you to eat
So
that.
eight in the morning till 4 in the
Yeah,
afternoon.
that's correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
And then it's a 16-hour fast every
Mhm.
day, basically. That
Yes.
because I heard it was 12 was acceptable, a 12-hour fast. So maybe you eat at 8 in the morning, and
Mhm.
the last time you eat at all is 7 o'clock. Well, that's 13 hours, right?
Right. And that is true for the reason that you always have to remember that you have to establish the fasted state. You need to be 8 to 12 hours in order for your body to understand, all right, I'm fasting and I'm now going to burn up ketones for the body, not glucose.
Gotcha. Okay. So we talked about some of the different ways, and maybe we can get back to that again if there's any others. But what about challenges? Do some of your patients that are doing this, what do they say the challenges are? What have you found that maybe for yourself, some of the what are the challenges?
So the challenges mostly, Steve, would be more of, as we call it, uh, people who are just starting, meaning there are actually different schedules. So the scheduling really is a big problem because how can I eat? I'm working. I have things to do. So it's really now about the individual on what they want to do. The thing here is when you're actually um, your choice is doing an early or later window. That's really up to you. There's no studies that can back it up, which one's better. But the one that's really backed up is the Ramadan type of eating, wherein people eat after sundown. So that's something that they can try if they're playing around with it and still are not sure. And we're so used to also having the 3 meals a day and snacks type of habit. That's why implanting this new culture is going to be a hard sell for people who are so into this specific schedule. And also, when you're undergoing fasting, there will be fatigue, irritability, lack of focus, and also, and usually you will experience this in the first months. And of course, you have to remember the contraindications for intermittent fasting. If you're pregnant, you can't do that because you have another child that's also suffering. And also eating disorders, you might trigger that eating disorder if you're fasting yourself out. And some relative ones would be if you have history of reflux, gout, and stones, because the restriction and stress that goes along with that aggravates these conditions. If you're already sick with an infection or the viral infection, don't do it. If you're malnourished, if you have malabsorption issues, if you're a cancer patient who's very cachectic, you can't do that. And also children who actually needs nutrition when they're growing up. And diabetics, because of the sugar just fluctuating in a very unpredictable way.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like there would be some kind of social challenges just with our social behavior in this country. But so, is there anything else that you wanted to say about different methods? I mean, I know you kind of went over that, but what's a minimum basic type of intermittent fast, and what's an extreme?
Well, as I mentioned a while ago, the basic one is just the time restricted eating. If you want to just go slow and early with that, and which is somebody who's also in a working environment, they can try that out. And of course, the longer your fasting days are, that's the more complicated it is. And I have patients who've done it like 4 or 5 days straight, but these are pros. And I wouldn't let you jump into that if you're a newbie. You definitely just want to dip your feet in there slowly.
Can't that be bad for you if you're fasting for 4 days and you do it often? That, I mean, once is one thing, but to do it, every month is that that could be harmful, right?
It can be. And again, it depends. That's why I would suggest patients to be guided by their medical professional doing this because there are certain conditions that cannot last this long. But for a normal individual who's pretty healthy, intermittent fasting can be feasible. And you would remember this. I mean, people get stuck in an island and they just have Wilson beside them and they can last that long eating plants. And yeah, though they get into that point that they're very cachectic, your point is you don't want to burn protein. You only want to burn fat for energy. When you burn protein, when you lose muscle mass, you know you're already on that threshold that I need to stop. I need to get back to normal again. That's why those long days of fasting, I would only suggest that do it once a month, do it once in 2 months. It's not like consecutive weeks that you do it.
So in general, when would you say most people, I understand that a healthy person that fasts for 4 days are not going to die, but when is that, do you know when for most people that point is where you start burning some protein? Is it
Yes.
2 days, 3 days?
Yeah. Again, that depends, but in general, when you fast for almost at least more than 4 to 5 days, that's already when you know that you're burning protein, and also it would show that your mouth is getting like hollow, and the muscle mass are getting smaller. That also is a good definition that protein is getting burned up already.
So you're not going to start burning protein in 2 or 3 days.
No, You're not. It's always going to be
That's,
ketones. The fats are going to go first.
that's good to know. That's good to know. Okay, so what about exercise? How do you incorporate that? Do you lay off the exercise if you're doing a 4-day fast? I mean, how does that go in conjunction with this?
So that's a good question, Steve. I get that a lot. Back in my good old days when I was a gym rat, well, the thing there is I did intermittent fasting too. And the thing here is the key, strength training on fasting days. And you have to remember now you're using ketones. That's why you want to do strength training, weightlifting, bench presses, shoulder presses. And the caution here is if you're fasting, some people would feel weak. That's why some of them they're like, yeah, I need to eat a bar or something. But you're gonna break that fast, and that destroys the utilization of ketones already. That's why again, you have to be even guided by a trainer when you're working out, but especially a medical doctor or a professional through this. But that's the best way to do it. You're using ketones for those high burst exercises, and once you actually you want to counteract the loss of lean mass through this because you're building muscle again as you destroy it. And then once you break that fast, that's when you start eating again. So whatever you burn, you put it back in through eating. That's why this is what you always hear about lean gains protocol. So this is the main system through that. And the thing here is you need to maximize the super compensation response in relation to putting the nutrients back in immediately after that strength training day. You have to just eat the good food, not the junk food, and just replete everything back so that you would not be building fat again, and also deplete yourself from the benefits that you worked so hard for in those fasting days. That's why in our practice, intermittent fasting was also combined with supplements, diet, clinical assessments, especially the contraindications. We watch out for that, and even IV therapies, vitamins, minerals, and amino acids to maximize the effects. So we have people who just after a workout and breaking the fast, they come here to get amino acid infusions. So those are things that we do, and little tweaks that helps the gym rats and also the health buffs out there.
So is it true that it's easier for your body to gain fat back after a 2, 3, 4-day fast because your metabolism slowed down, so you can gain that weight right back?
Right. So it's so hungry, it's gonna grab on anything that it wants to eat. That's why when you get in there, I would choose protein really. On if something needs to get back into your system, protein is the next best thing that you want to put in there because you want to build muscle once more.
When you come off the fast, eat protein.
Right. That's when you break the fast. That's when you restart everything again.
Well, thank you, doctor. That is very interesting. I'm going to have to play with that myself a little bit. I have before, but you've given me some new ideas to try. So that's Dr. Nario, Biointegrative Health Center, Reno, Nevada. You can look them up online. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Steve.